So good morning, welcome. Thank you all for joining. We're going to be looking at SmartBuild 1.92 version. We'll look at the new stuff that is going to be in this version. Few shopkeeping things. Most of you know this, but I pretty much will go through the new stuff. I'll kind of present these things, and we will keep everybody on mute. If you do have questions during my presentation, or if you do need some clarification or something, you can use the chat feature in GoToMeeting, which I think everybody's is a little different, it seems, but should be up in the top right corner. You can click on the chat and you can send in a message to everyone. And Paul and Mark and some other people here at SmartBuild will keep an eye on those, and if they need to jump in or interrupt me, then we'll let them do that. Otherwise, it just gets kind of chaotic. And then at the end of the session, when I'm done, we'll leave time, and we'll pretty much open it up for any questions, any comments, really anything that you want to talk about related to SmartBuild. Yeah. So I'm going to share my screen here, and we'll start taking a look at this new version. So you will notice our pattern lately. We've been doing these webinars on our beta site. And so that means it is not available to you right at this moment. We put it into beta as kind of a halfway point between testing things that are kind of brand new and between actually releasing it to you. So when it's in beta, we're using pretty recent data. So if you do go to your site, you can type in beta at the front of your typical login, and you can get to your beta site. It's going to be the same login information, and it's going to have pretty recent data. You can go in here and mess around with these things, see what's new. You can test things out. It is very helpful for us if you can go and just take a look. Everybody's system is a little bit different, so we try to test as many different configurations as we can, but it's just really impossible for us to do all of those. So if you do kind of a sanity check where you just open up some jobs, take a look at the the job review, look at some of the outputs, and just make sure everything looks like it's normal. Sometimes things will just jump out at you, but we miss them due to just the various configurations. So if you do have time, just go up onto your beta site, and if you need help with that, let us know. We can kind of walk you through what that looks like. We are planning to release this, barring any issues, probably next Tuesday. We might do Monday evening, we might do Tuesday evening. It kind of just depends on feedback and stuff we get. So we're looking to put this onto live where you would have access to all this probably, I'd say by next Wednesday morning for sure, unless something really comes up. Yeah, so this we're going to be seeing this on the beta site, and this will be coming out early next week, Tuesday and Wednesday. Okay, so the first thing that I'll start out with here is we did alter these starting model folders. And as you can see inside of this folder now, you're going to see an image of models that are in these folders. And it is going to show you the first actual model that it runs into. So you can set up these starting models and you can build these trees. Mine's a little bit strange, but you can have multiple levels of different folders, and you can kind of navigate around through these. But it is going to show the first model it runs into. So you can see this one here. When I open this up, this is the first model that it sees, so that's the one that it's going to show here. So this just looks better. This is especially nice if you're using the eModeler program, where people come in to your site off the internet and they can see some different types of buildings, and they can get a visual picture of it here as opposed to just the folder like you have now. So if you do want to alter which one of these you see, you will have to come into the starting models here underneath the settings, and you can create this tree here. You can double click in here and you can rename these. This will become a folder, and then models that are in that folder will be underneath that folder. So you can put these models within these folders. And so you can change the order of these as well. So if you do want to see something specific and at the top, you want that to be presented at the folder level, then you can rearrange these to just get whatever model you want first on that list. And I think this will just work. Paul, maybe you can confirm that for me. Like when this goes on to live, do people have to come in here and save these to get those to
unmuted,
or is that just going to show up? Mark or Paul?
No, they'll have to go back in and resave those images, I believe.
Okay.
No,
I had
no, they won't.
Yeah,
I don't think they will. It's on beta that they have to resave them.
Yeah, I just went through and
They were never saved on beta.
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, if you do go to beta, you'll have to resave these on beta to see these. But once it goes live, once we release this, it should just show up.
Yeah, it's an artifact. The reason why we had to do it on beta, it's an artifact of the copying process. We don't copy back images, copy over images.
Okay. Yep. Okay, thanks. All right, so great feedback from customers. We put this in based on feedback. Let us know what you think about this. And I think I will transition into probably the main thing that's coming out with this release. There's not a whole lot of new functionality in this release. A lot of what we've been doing is related to the speed of the program, the loading of jobs. So we've done quite a bit of work on that. We're going to continue to do work on that. This is not going to be one of those things where we just do a release and everything is just super duper fast. Unfortunately, it's going to be more incremental. We have to do quite a bit of work in the background to get these things to not break things. So to make it faster and also just to keep everything working as it should. So it's a challenge for us, but we're continuing to work on this. And in this release, there's quite a bit of progress on especially opening models faster. And one thing I will just point out to transition here with the starting models, these should open faster as well, any starting models that you have, but you do have to go in and resave these models. And Mark, you can correct me if this is wrong, but in order to get these new speed benefits, you do have to go into these starting models, click in here, you have to click on these, you have to hit the edit, and that's going to open up the starting model, and then you'll have to save that starting model. And once you do that, then you will get the benefits of all your starting models opening up faster. Mark, is that true?
Yes, that's true.
Okay. So good news, bad news. I mean, it can take some time, I know, to go into these starting models, especially if you have a lot of them. But you are going to have to do that to take advantage of some of these speed increases that we've put into this release. So one example there, you will have to go into the starting models and save those to get these speed release, the speed benefits. The similar kind of thing is going on with these job viewer links. So the viewer links that you send out to customers, and if you haven't seen this, I guess I'll just do one here where a couple different places you can get this viewer link. I'll just click here. It's going to copy the URL. I can go here and just hit paste. So you can send this link to someone via email or various different ways electronically, and you can send it to a potential client and they can open it up and they can get a view of it in 3D, and they kind of do some things visually with the model. They can't make any changes. It's just a way for you to send out a quote or a bid potentially to a client that they can review. Now, these will open faster now with this latest release, but only after you save that job again. So similar kind of thing, these will run faster. So any previously saved jobs that you have, if you're going to send out this viewer link and you want it to open up faster, you will have to go in and edit and save it. Once this version comes out, any new jobs that you create and save in this new version, those will get that benefit. So there's a bit of a transition here with some of the legacy jobs and the new jobs. So with these type of viewer links, you will have to go into your legacy previously existing jobs and just save those in order to get those job viewer links to open up faster for your clients. And actually, I didn't really want to open that one. And all legacy jobs will open. They should open faster. The speed improvement that we have here, we believe, is about 40% faster. So it's not going to be in your face, just way, way faster, but it is significantly faster. That is going to be continued to be improved, like I said. So about 40% faster. Legacy existing jobs should open up faster, but in order to make sure this job is going to be up to date, you will have to hit a refresh on legacy jobs. One reason that this is going to be faster is because it's not running everything sending everything to the server. So there's some processes that we are not running when you're opening up these legacy jobs. And even, I guess, jobs that you're going to save from here on out, if you open them up and you've made changes to like system-wide pricing or package calculations changes, anything that's system-wide, it's not going to be applied to legacy jobs or jobs that have been saved previously. So one thing you will have to keep an eye on is so legacy jobs will open up faster. If you've made significant changes, your pricing might be a little bit off. And so in order to make sure that's up to date, you just have to hit the refresh and then save it, and then it'll be up to date. We did put this orange color down here just to signal and kind of give you a reminder that you might need to refresh this data. Once you hit this refresh and you're here in the job, that orange is going to go away. But pretty much anytime you open up a job, you're going to get that orange color down there. It's just a reminder if big changes have been made, any system-wide kind of changes in pricing and packages, etc., you're going to need to refresh that just to make sure you get the latest up-to-date information. So just something to keep in mind. And as we move forward, we're going to continue to kind of whittle down the things that need to be saved and sent to the server so that the model will get faster and faster at saving and of making changes. We did some additional improvements about when you're doing work in this job that things should be quicker. Not everything is going to be quicker. If you change your post spacing, we pretty much need to process everything in the job. If you make this building bigger, it's going to need to process everything. But if you just change the color of the roof, we don't need to process everything. Those are the kind of things that we're in a good position now to begin to kind of whittle down these different changes and what information we actually have to send back and forth over the network to the server. So we've done some of those things in this release as well. There's going to be a lot more that we do. We've done a lot of the groundwork to make it possible for us to kind of whittle through these different kind of changes you make and what do we actually need to update if you do change the roof color. Unfortunately, this kind of also gets into some of the foundation and the framework of what we're using. So we're going to have to be doing some pretty serious updates to just some of the guts of the code, I guess. I mean, it's a little bit like going into an existing building and replacing, some of the foundation or something. So we have quite a bit of work. We're going to keep whittling away at this, and we're in a good position now. These are going to load faster, and we have done some things like if you're doing work in the job review, we're not going to be sending all the information up about all the framing and the post spacing and everything. We're just going to be sending information related to the job review. So if you're adding things in the job review or making changes to your markup and things of that nature, it's just going to send up the pricing information. So that should be an improvement, should be faster. Similar kind of thing with the packages. If you're adding package information, turning on packages, off packages, it doesn't need to reframe the entire building. So things like that should be getting faster with this release, as well as the loading of the job. But we are in a good position to start making progress on making this just faster and faster as we go on from here. So hopefully you notice that those changes. Let us know what you think about this. There is going to be a bit of a transition. Keep an eye on your refresh down here. Just make sure that you click on that if you do think it's time to update your model. I guess the only other thing that I might mention with this, and I think this is kind of true at the moment, but one thing, like we do have quite a few bug fixes as well in this release that I'm going to go through some of them. And in order for some of those to apply, you will also have to refresh the model. So if you open up a previously saved job, some of these changes, in order to get some of these bug fixes, you will have to refresh the model in order for it to send up fresh data and bring it back. One example of this, and I'll kind of just jump in here now to looking at a few of the bug fixes that we've done in this release. One of them is related to the open wall trim. So in this open wall top of wall trim, so in this particular model, I have this porch and this main building wall, and they're combined together. If I go to my drawings and go to the sheathing drawing, there is open top of wall trim here. And so that you can get to through the details. If you haven't seen this, this is relatively new. We added this in, I think this was last release. So we have roof trim, and we have open top of wall trim in here somewhere. Where is that at? I guess this is actually going to be wall trim, not roof trim. So under the wall trim, we have top of wall trim. And we've had that for a long time. Relatively recently, we've added this open wall trim, and we added in the open top of wall trim. And so you can't have a separate material there. I have just matched the top of wall trim. So basically, if you do have an open wall with an overhang, it will put in this open top of wall trim that you specified. One of the bugs that we have seen that is out there right now potentially in these combined situations, it was getting confused between this open wall portion and this closed wall. And so I think you actually end up with some additional open top of wall trim over here. So some of you have reported this, and some of you may have noticed this. In some conditions like this, you may have some extra open top of wall trim on your job review and on your material list. This has been fixed with this latest release. But if you do open up an older job and it has this condition, and that refresh button is orange, you might have to hit that refresh, or you will actually for the first time, you'll have to hit that refresh button in order to get this cleaned up. But if you just hit that refresh button, you'll see that it's going to clean this up. It'll get rid of the open top of wall trim from here. It should leave this here according to your settings if you're using this. So one more example there of with this new functionality, this job loading faster, you will have to keep an eye out for things like that. So, if when in doubt, just hit this refresh button down here. And that's just another bug that we have fixed here that I wanted to make you aware of. So a few more bugs, just so you are aware of these, if you've seen these and you're kind of waiting for these to come out. One item that was reported is the ceiling liner overrides were basically just not working. So let's see, I do have an override here. Let's just take a quick look at this. So I have my liner is turned on here for this building, my ceiling liner. And the actual details of these are going to be underneath the ceiling liner settings here. And you can define what the lengths of these panels are. And let's take a look here. If we go into the ceiling layout and actually let's look at the ceiling, and that is going to be the framing, but we do have the, where is this guy going to be? Ceiling layout. I'll just click on here. So I'll go to ceiling one. Okay, yeah, it's the interior sheathing, which is in here somewhere, but okay, there it is down at the bottom. So I pulled this up. If I get rid of this and just don't put any part length overrides, I have this as like a random length, just using this G-Rib product here. It's just going to give me whatever length this actually is. In this case, 29 foot 5 inches. You can come into these overrides, you can put in lengths, and you can control what lengths actually get put onto this roof. And so if I put in 10, I'm getting 10 foot part lengths all around at this point. That is just not working right now. So that is fixed. So with this release coming out, that will be something that you can control again. Just FYI, if you don't know, you can also control the direction of these. The way that this works right now is if you have interior purlins on the ceiling, then it's going to be using those purlins. And in this case, it's going to run them this direction because I believe that I have those set up. And where is that going to be? That is going to be in the ceiling framing, which is, where is that? We have a lot of settings here, obviously. Ceiling trim, ceiling liner, ceiling framing. And so we have this interior purlin. I have mine set to 2x4s. So in the model, you would see that if you set these to none, it's going to run these the other direction. It's going to use the framing. In this case, I have trusses up here. And you do, like when I'm doing this 10 foot, it's not really looking at those trusses in terms of where it's breaking these. It's using that 10 foot because I put that in, but you can control those to fall onto. I don't think this would work out great in this case. I think my spacing is 8 foot, but so you do have control over those. If you do want to flip those, that's the way we do this right now. We could do something different. I think we've heard some rumblings about some other controls that people want, but I just wanted to point that out. That's how that works right now. So that's another thing that we've cleaned up in here. We've had some issues with openings, and especially with combined walls where it gets confused about where to measure them from. Some of you have seen that and reported those. So in some cases, we were kind of getting rogue doors in different places, and when you kind of refresh those or change them to a different door, that it might move those on you, and then you kind of have to go in and move those. And so we've cleaned those up. You should not be seeing those kind of issues in this release. I think we had some issues with some of the 2D and the 3D, because you can come in here if you're not aware and into the 2D mode that I just clicked on here. So you can input doors and windows in the 3D mode, but you can also go into 2D and input these. And once you input those here and you go back to the 3D model, it's going to just place those in the 3D model. And so those should be cleaned up as well. Maybe I'll just throw one in here. And FYI, this is going to be much faster inputting doors and windows here in this 2D mode. So you can come in here and put in all your openings. You can also come in here and do things like select all and delete these. So you can come in here and delete doors and windows. So part of this, one of the speed kind of things that we did is to create this 2D mode where it is going to be a lot faster to come in. If you have a lot of doors and windows, you can come in here and input those doors and windows in the 2D mode. And in the past, we've covered, you can put interior walls in here. You can put in second floors and lofts and put in walls and doors and windows on the second floor. We did couple webinars on that, so I'm not going to get into that, but I did want to point out, just kind of in the theme of the speed, that if you do have several doors and windows, or if you need to do editing, it's probably faster to come in here. And then if you need to, you can come into the 3D model and do some tweaks. And if you like doing the 3D model, that's fine too. But that 2D is going to be a little bit faster. And so there's that door that I just put in there. So we've cleaned up there's a few things that were going on there with the doors and windows just kind of ending up not exactly where you might expect them to be, and you'd have to kind of clean it up. But those should be fixed. If you're using measure from outside a post, so we do have the option to pretty much measure this whole building either from the outside of the girt or the outside of the post. It just kind of ignores the girts. And so we have, a split of different customers, of our customers who use outside of girt or outside of post. We've had some issues with, for example, with using bay spacing. You can use the bay spacing where it just will keep all your bays, your spacing of your posts based on your bays, which I'm sure a lot of you kind of seen this. Just in case, I'll just kind of quickly. So if you use this bay spacing, it's going to dictate your spacing as opposed to using post spacing where you can control these posts. So it'll tie your roof framing members and your posts together. So if we change this to 10, it's just going to shift that over. But we're having some issues with the outside of posts. Like if you had a rafter porch and if you had 10-foot bay spacing with outside of posts and you had 10-foot bay spacing on your porch, they weren't quite lining up. Just little differences there. In this case, I just changed that. These no longer line up, but we could go edit these and change our spacing of these rafters on the porch. But we've cleaned that up now. So if you are using outside of post, you're seeing the differences here between your rafters and your main building. That should be cleaned up. The starting point of these with outside of post had some strange measurements with some of the posts in some cases. I'm not going to go into those too deeply here because I think probably a majority of people are using outside of girt. But if you do use that outside of post and you noticed and saw those some discrepancies with the spacing on these should be cleaned up with this release. Please take a look at those, especially if you can go on the beta again it'd be great if you could take a look at those before we even release these and let us know what you're seeing. A few other things here. One thing reported, eModeler customers, when you come in from the internet, we show the pricing a little bit different, and in some screen resolutions for some customers, the price was not showing. So some people are using that price for eModeler. That should be back now. There was some issues when you go into the advanced edit mode where you can come in here in advanced edit, you can edit individual walls. And if you're using our product systems, which if you're not aware, product systems allow you to create specific kind of product lines or product systems where you limit the options that you have available. So certain panels get certain trim, and you only have certain colors available with those product systems. So if you pick a particular product system, it's going to limit all the choices that you have available only to the different trims and colors and things that are part and go along with that particular panel, for example. So you can come into advanced edit and you could pick different product systems, or you can now for specific walls. Like if you have a wall that maybe is just getting stone or something, as opposed to the panels, you could change to a stone product system and just have certain things available for that particular wall, and you could do some advanced edit changes on just this one wall. We're having some mix-up in some cases where the product systems could affect other walls in the model. I know several of you reported that. It's just kind of a strange thing, like why is that happening to this other wall? We have cleaned that up. Sounds like that is fixed. We've had some people go up on the beta actually and confirm that for us. But if you've seen that and you have some specific cases and jobs, please take a look at that again. I think one of the last things here, well, a couple more things, but if you do use our SketchUp output, if you use SketchUp or thinking about using SketchUp, we do have an output that will output this entire 3D model that you can bring into SketchUp. And then from there, there's a lot of tools in SketchUp that you can use. And we're working on some additional kind of partnership cooperation with SketchUp. But we've done a few cleanup things on that 3D model. So if you're using that, we had a couple bugs. One, you can put in these trim margins where you can kind of put in a little extra on pieces of trim to make sure that you have enough. So for any sort of trim part, you can put in an extra length. And that was showing up in the SketchUp model, which doesn't really make sense. So you might have some of your trims kind of like sticking out because it was bringing in those trim margins. It should come in now with the lengths that you want to see in the 3D model, not really the lengths that you might want on your material list. So we cleaned that up. Also the windows, I think it's just the windows, and maybe the doors as well, we're not adjusting with a slab. So in the SketchUp model, the windows might be at a little bit of a different height, or actually it's going to be based on the depth of the slab. So we cleaned that up. So if you do use SketchUp and you are looking for those, that's something that's going to be cleaned up in that SketchUp output. Real quick here, one thing that we've added here, and I'll just demonstrate it here in the job review, where if we add in a catalog, and I'm going to be honest here, this one, I'm not exactly sure how people would want to use this, but we had some requests. I don't know how many people would want to use this, but I guess I'm just going to make something up here that doesn't necessarily make sense. But so I'm just going to add in here manually something from my catalog. And basically what we have added here is just one additional calculation that we've added that is going to be a number of roof panels. So if we look at these kind of things here that you can use to calculate materials within the package calculations, or just like I'm doing here, I'm just adding in stuff in the job. There's a whole bunch of things here. You could use square foot roof of sheathing to calculate like labor or something. And the thing that we've added here is just the number of roof panels. It doesn't really care what size of the roof panels, what kind of roof panels. It's just going to be the number of panels that are in this. So if you have been looking for some sort of calculation where you just want something or a quantity of something per the number of roof panels, we do have that available now. And there are some other types of calculations you can do that are existing here. There's a whole bunch here. You could go take a look at those. But in this case, just the new one here is the number of roof panels. So if I hit save here, it should go in and just add those in. It should be a little bit quicker there as well. And yeah, I might have to look at how the box of screws is probably not going to reflect the number of panels. It's just the way that I have this calculator is going to give me a box for 250, so probably not a great example there, but number of roof panels, if you want to use that, you can. I'm going to hit save here and look at just one more output thing, and I guess maybe there's actually two now that I think about it. If you've seen this one with custom openings on the job bids, it was not giving a quantity of those. So if you had custom openings in your job and you wanted to see the quantity on your job bid, that is now fixed. So these job bids, you can add those as part of your outputs, and you can define which categories of materials actually show up on those job bids. I guess I'll just download this one real quick just to show you that. So that quantity is now going to be on this job bid. I've heard that some people don't like really seeing custom openings on here as well. There are some ways that you could kind of deal with that on the job bid. You don't have to include those. You could put them in a category and just not include them. But here it is. It just shows up. It's just that 110 by 10, and there's just a quantity of 1. Because this is a custom opening, there's nothing coming out of the inventory. It's just kind of an opening there, and there's no price associated with it. So that should be cleaned up. If you do have feedback on that, let us know. If we hear enough things, we can do something different with these custom openings. Maybe an option to have them show up on your job review and your outputs or not. The other output here that we heard from some people here, we have this Job Data CSV file. And so for any given job, you can have this Job Data CSV, and it's an Excel. The CSV is an Excel version, and it's just a whole bunch of data about this particular job and the materials of this job in this case. So it has all the different materials in here, and you see across here descriptions and different types of SKUs, colors and quantities, and different ways of breaking out the pricing. And you can customize an output with only certain columns here that you want to see. So if you're just doing pricing, you could get rid of a lot of this information that has nothing to do with pricing, and then you can save those. And you can have as many of these as you want. And so as part of the output setup, you can customize these and create different types of Excel outputs with different columns and some other options that you have. And the one thing that we just did here, so we had a request for color name. So that's different than, we have the color code that we always had before, but it didn't spell out the name of that color. So if that's something you wanted to see on some sort of a CSV output that you maybe provide possibly to your clients, potential customers, or some of your suppliers or people that you communicate with, you can now put this color name on there. It might be easier. So just FYI, I wanted to make sure people were aware of that. I probably wasn't sharing that, was I? I forget that you have to switch the screens over We can take a look at those if you want. Maybe I'll leave that open for once we get here to the open question session. Just the last thing here is if we, so yeah, we're going to continue to make progress on the speed. On the next release, 1.93, I'd like to give a little bit of a preview. We are going to continue working on some of the foundational things around the speed and the performance of the program. But we are going to start to work on dormers. And the plan right now is next time we will have a mechanism to put in dormers on these models. So that'll be kind of the big thing. We are also going to continue to do quite a few bug fixes, quite a bit of cleanup, and then again, quite a bit of foundational work related to the speed and the performance of the program. Okay, so with that, I think I will close this part out. We have, looks like 15 minutes or so, though we can stick around however long anybody wants. And unless anybody at SmartBuild has anything they think we should add, at this point, we'll just kind of open it up to any comments that came in or any questions. If you want, just unmute. You can just chime in, or you can use the comment feature, and we'll just start reading things off and going through things, and everybody here at SmartBuild can kind of chime in on these as well. Anything that came through the chat?
Nope. Nope. Oh, okay. How soon will this be released? James Allen asked.
Okay. Yeah, we covered that at the beginning. We are, by Wednesday morning, you should have this. Next Wednesday morning. God willing and the creek don't rise. If anything does come up, we might, delay if we need to, but Wednesday morning looks like a good time frame.
Cody asked, can we download the order form as an Excel sheet?
So like the bid.
Don't know what he considers the order form. So
probably the bid. And the answer is no if it's the bid. We have had some requests of something similar to this job bid, that you could do some customization and output it as an Excel file. We do have this Excel workbook, and this time I'll share it, but you can't really customize it or do anything with it. But if we had something similar to this Excel workbook, but you could do a little more customization on it, like something more like the job bid. I assume that's what he's talking about, Corey. You can come in here. I mean, this is Excel, and you can kind of edit and make changes here and potentially use this, but yeah.
Yeah, Cody said, yeah, Cody's response was the material list. Of course, there are there are lots of different outputs that we can generate from the software. So
yeah, Cody, you could give us more information on that one. You could send that in through support, or we could talk about it here if you want. I think the answer is no, though, unfortunately, right now, but it's a good idea. All right, it's kind of a quiet group today.
Yeah, Cody said, okay, thank you. Jason said, or Galen said, is it possible to get a output for just the interior framing, separated from the main structure framing list? I think the short answer is no.
I mean, you could set up a category, right? Do we not have the usages that break out? So you could set up one of these job tabs that was interiors, right? And then you can go through these usages and only put specific. You could say I want interior wall to be in the interiors category. And then when you create that job bid, you could have a job bid that just has the interiors. The one thing I don't know is, do we have all these usages broken out in a way that you could put what you wanted into that category for interiors? Right, Mark? Does that make sense?
Yeah. So, interior wall sheathing, yes, that could definitely do it.
Interior base, interior open base, interior header.
I know, for instance, if you have an interior wall and you've got metal framing, so you've got girts on the front and back side, right now, the usage for the girts on what we call the B side of that wall is interior girt. But the usage for the girts that we put on the A side of that wall, the usage is set to girt. And I'm sure that's just one that we tripped across a couple of days ago as we were looking into a different issue. But there are probably a lot of things that are not really tied to an interior wall. So if there is a need to be able to generate a material list for everything except the interior walls and a separate one for just the stuff that goes into the interior walls, then that's something we would have to implement on our end, because you can't really go off of usage even, because if you've got an assembly or a package, then that's going to generate miscellaneous materials, and yeah.
Okay, yeah. It's a little more complicated. Okay. It's a good one to think about, though. I mean, we could.
Oh yeah, we can do anything we want, right? We just have to know that we want to do it.
Yeah. Okay.
The problem that we face.
So on another topic that you bring up, interior walls with the side A and side B, one being classed as exterior. When you go to add an interior wall, you have the option to finish side A as match liner or match exterior or none.
Yep.
And we get more like an actual material there. So if you have your exterior is metal siding, your interior, say your garage might be metal liner, and then you have a mechanical room that might be drywall or plywood. Right now we can do it by going into advanced edit, selecting that wall and changing the material. So yeah, just curious if how big a deal it would be to add more actual materials into that drop down.
Yeah, it's like you said, it's just adding more questions into this dialogue that then you have to make sure you keep track of. And the thinking was that, well, you got exterior and you got interior, you got liner. So for this particular wall, for each of the sides, do you want it to match the exterior or do you want it to match the liner? So yeah, I mean, I noticed this the other day when I was doing a job. I didn't put liner on my main building, but I wanted to put an interior wall that had liner on both sides.
Correct.
Put in an interior wall. I said match liner for both sides, and it said, okay, what's your liner set to? None? Okay, you get none.
That's correct. Yep.
So it's not perfect. But understanding that there is a use case for, I have type A liner and type B liner and type C liner, and I want to be able to say I want this liner versus that liner. That's really probably closer to what you want here for side A and side B.
Correct. Yeah.
That's good information to have as we start to make that a little bit better. Like you said, there's a workaround for it right now. You just put your walls in, and then you have to go to advanced edit and select each of those walls and set them, which is kind of a pain. Well, no, it's really a pain, but but it does work, right? Yeah.
The side A or the side B, one side being listed in usage as exterior wall. Is that something that will be changed in the near future? We discovered that as well. Went into a look at one of the guys say he doesn't have enough sheeting for both sides of the wall, and then it was just classed as exterior wall sheeting.
Yes, if you go to the sheathing drawing for this wall, it's showing as exterior wall sheathing, even though it's interior sheathing. And the same thing happens with the corner and the base and everything. So basically, it really shouldn't be match exterior and match liner. Well, no, it is that is the option. It's you're basically, when you're saying side A and B are both match liner, what you're saying is side A and side B are both interior side. As opposed to, you could in theory put in a divider wall that was exterior on both sides.
You could. Yeah, in which case
it should use your exterior sheathing, and it should put it in as if it were exterior. And so that's the solution for that particular issue. And like I said, we just tripped across this last week. And you know, it's like, oh, we should probably clean that up. But of course, there is a whole list of things that we should probably.
Yeah, we just discovered it, and it's on your cleanup list. That's great. One thing I would pitch out there, if you have looking at, you know, addressing different wall liner options, could you put it in details under wall liner where you have wall liner condition 1, condition 2, condition 3, and have those additional options in that drop down? Instead of just having match exterior, match interior, you would have match condition 1, condition 2.
Right.
It's kind of like product systems. There's kind of wall types.
Sure, exactly.
Yeah.
Well, it's wall finish types, right? Because it's not wall types.
So it could be product systems, basically.
Yeah. So yeah, that's something to keep in mind. The other thing that we know that we do want to do is to be able to once you've got your 2D view, go ahead and go to 2D view if you would, Sean. Is to be able to deal with rooms. So that right here we've got 3 rooms. You can see that just looking at it because you're a human being, right? And so the software can figure out that, hey, look, there's 3 rooms here. And so to be able to come in and tell the software, look, the part on the left, the large part on the left at the bottom, that's enclosed living space. So that's going to have liner on the inside. It's going to have a ceiling. It's going to have insulation. It's going to have a 4-inch slab underneath it. And the part on the right is a garage. So it's not finished on the inside, or maybe it's finished with steel. It doesn't have a ceiling, or maybe it does have a ceiling and it's a different ceiling, and it's got a 6-inch slab because I'm going to park cars out there. So being able to sort of think about it from the concept of a room. So when you're standing inside of this space within the building and you look around, this is the stuff that you see. And I think that there's a lot of value in that and being able to override them on that basis. But one of the limitations we have right now is, you can come in and on that vertical wall in the middle of the building, you can say, hey, it's drywall on the left and it's unfinished on the right. But the wall across the bottom, we don't have a way of saying, hey, it's drywall up until it hits the divider wall, and then it's unfinished for the rest of that distance. And if we had, I think that rooms would be an elegant and intuitive way of addressing that shortcoming within the software and giving you the flexibility to do those things.
Can we start tomorrow?
No, we're working on dormers right now.
Okay.
Dormers are important. Let's see. Brandon says, what about an option to each wall like we have for adding the ceilings to loft sections? We can set the ceiling material when adding to lofts. Can we add each wall sheathing when adding walls? Yeah, and that's what we were asking about earlier, was instead of just being able to say for this particular wall, side A has liner or match liner versus match exterior, to be able to specify, and by the way, this is the sheathing material that I want to use for it.
Mm-hmm.
Just like you can set the ceiling material and the floor sheeting for a loft, if you could set the side A liner and the side B liner on an interior wall.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so that whole side A, side B, match interior, match liner is probably going to wind up morphing into something a lot more usable and powerful. What we're doing right now is just sort of a quick and dirty, hey, this will work. Hey, yeah, look at that, it works. Because what we did know is that when you put in an interior wall, you don't want the A side to match the exterior of your building and the B side to always match your liner. So we gave you those options, but it doesn't do the trick. So yes, Brandon, that is what we're thinking about, something like that. And that would be one way of addressing it. The other would be what was suggested, which is under liner. When you say match liner, instead of being able to say match liner, you could say match liner 1, match liner 2, match liner 3, and then you can have a setup of the different liners.
And like I think Sean mentioned, product systems. You would basically have all those product systems already set up. If that could show up as an option, all your product systems, you could make them available to any product system that's available as a liner material. If that would show up here, you could do that.
Yeah, there's
some
difficulties with product systems because product systems is more than just the liner, right?
Right.
And there's also things too, like on the interior of this wall, I'm going to put metal. Well, if I'm going to put metal, That means I need the metal, the base trim that goes with the metal, and I need the corner trim that goes with the metal. But it also means I need the girts that go with the metal. Whereas if I'm going to put drywall on here, I don't need girts. I just need the drywall. So it's complicated, but we're aware of those complications, and we're looking for clean, elegant ways to get those to work. And one of the problems is it is complex, and there are a lot of variables in it, and therefore it's going to be complex to come up with a solution that's easy to use. So that's always the challenge, is right, is trying to make the complicated simple.
So just
without taking away the behavior that you need.
Sure. When you do a attached building, right now we have the option to add ceiling in the attached building. Is there can you do has wall liner as well? Probably not.
We could, but I think that rooms would probably be a better way of addressing that issue.
I agree.
But
I agree.
I'm open to it. And maybe it's as simple as, look, if we're going to have rooms, then let's give you the room settings when you put in an attached building, because an attached building is a room when you first put it in, until you start cutting it up with interior walls. But
yeah, rooms would definitely be great.
yeah. Let's see. Dwayne said, could you create tokens that separate those three rooms, A, B, C, then use those? Then those tokens could be used to pull out square footage, et cetera, to be used in packages.
Hey, that would definitely be part of the rooms, right? Because we would have to have package calculations, and so yeah, breaking those up and having rooms have their own kind of tokens. It's definitely part of that whole rooms concept.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a little bit tricky, because then you'd have, I'm not sure how that would work with a token in a package, because you don't want to have to set up a package for room H.
Mm-hmm.
It's really, you'd want to set up a package for room type B.
Yeah.
And that might be a better way of addressing that kind of issue. But certainly being aware that there is a need to be able to say, I want to have a package calc that's only going to apply to the square footages of certain rooms.
Mm-hmm.
Dwayne says, you're already separating lean-tos from main structures. Would it be much different for rooms? It wouldn't, except that we have main structure and we have lean-tos. If you've got 6 lean-tos, they're all lean-tos. There isn't any way right now to say this lean-to is one and this lean-to over here is another one. The same thing would happen with rooms. Is yes, you could have a calculation that applies only to rooms, but it's going to apply to every room that you put in. And I think what you want is to be able to say, for this room, I want one set of calculations to apply. For this other room, I have a different set of calculations that I want to do. And I think that's going to be what we'll want to do. And it's just a layer of redirection, right? You're saying, look, rather than I have a calc I've set up a calculation that says anytime I use a type B room, I'm going to take the square footage of the walls and I'm going to multiply it by 6 to calculate how many tubs of mud I need to include in the job. So then you could just say, look, this is a type B room, and it's going to automatically calculate mud for it. Whereas this other room is not a type B, it's a type A, and instead of mud calculations, it gets something else. Rolls of shag carpet or something like that.
You could base it, well, so if you go back to the way we tie some material sheeting and trim packages, assemblies, if we had, of course, I guess drywall would be a sheeting material. So you could tie your drywall mud and paint, all that to your square footage of sheeting material. So that could be addressed that way. Floor material could be addressed the same way, by material assemblies. So
yeah, assemblies go a long way to addressing a lot of, but there are still things I think that just require packages in order to calculate them correctly. I mean, you can even do labor with assemblies.
right.
Yeah, and that's kind of the direction that we like people to move into, but we have some people that are either already spent several years dialing in their package calculations, and they don't want to have to rethink all of those to convert them over to assemblies. But also people that, for whatever reason, just like thinking in terms of packages. So I'm afraid we're going to have both approaches to addressing the same problem, essentially, for a while. All right. Yeah, so we got some good feedback.
Anything else?
Food for thought.
Yeah, I got these captured. So we'll get them in our system.
Like the crowd is dwindling. Does anybody have anything else they'd like to cover before we head off into the sunset? If not, I think we'll bid you all a good day. Thank you for coming. Thank you for being customers. Thanks for all your input. We appreciate it. It is, we write this software for you because we don't actually run it. So. Thanks, guys.
Okay.
Have a great day.
Thank you.